Oh no, I cut everything.
Okay, good. Okay. So you were recording now?
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Karen here. I'm joined with my friend Emily.
Hello.
This is Emily. I guess, I don't know, can you introduce yourself to the camera?
I'm Emily. I am in Korea right now, but I'm leaving in 2 days. I came from the Seattle area, and I was a teacher at a Hagwon.
So today we're going to talk about some differences between teaching in a Hagwon in Korea and teaching in public school with the EPIC program. So I came with EPIC and she is teaching at Hagwon. So there are a lot of differences, but with our video today, our experiences are going to be very specific to what we experienced, and so obviously
Super specific.
very, very specific. Every person's experience, every Hagwon experience, and every EPIC experience is different. So keep that in mind. There's bugs all over this apartment.
So a Hagwon is basically like a private academy that the kids go to after school multiple days a week. There's a lot of different subjects that Hagwons can cover. The most common is English and math. And I have students who are like, oh, I go to like a music one or a certain sport or blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah.
like Taekwondo.
Taekwondo, they call that, like, the word here, instead of saying academy, they say academy. But yeah, that's a Hagwon.
Okay.
It's basically like the after-school tutoring centers that kids go to in America, but here, there's not the stigma that you're dumb and you're going there. Everyone does it.
That's it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, pretty much every kid in Korea, they go to school and then they go to more school until late at night.
Yeah.
And they do that from like elementary school up through like high school. It's its own intense,
totally different. Oh yeah.
intense world. Okay, so first we'll talk about the application process and kind of how that was different, and kind of what CAE did for that and stuff.
Okay, mainly what I did was I completed a generic application, resume, cover letter, that kind of thing. And what they did was they sent it out to different Hagwons in Korea, based a little bit around my preference about where I wanted to be. I didn't know anything, so I said Seoul and Busan. And I ended up in the middle of the country. But they just sent it out to them, and if they were interested, I had the CIEE was kind of like a middleman that helped me coordinate interviews and stuff like that. And so it was more just direct. I applied, they liked me, I talked to them, and they picked me or not.
Yeah, same thing with the CIE, kind of acted as like a middleman between me and the EPIC program. So the EPIC process is pretty like long and drawn out, and so I applied to the EPIC program with help from a CIE coordinator. That whole application process, went through there, waited, got an interview, then after my interview waited a little bit more, and then got kind of, did I get my, I think there was another step in there. Like there was a lot of waiting, then you hear something and you're like, okay, this is sounding good, like it's most likely true. And then eventually I got my placement in the province, so I know what province I was going to. And from there, then I could start the whole like visa and like flight, you can book your flight and stuff. And yeah, and as I mentioned in a previous video sometime, I didn't figure out like where I was going to be in Cheongju until I got here. So that was fun. So you at least knew where you were going.
I knew where I was going. And then when I got hired in Cheongju, I didn't realize that Hagwons are kind of franchised often. And so when I did research into the one I was going to work at, I didn't realize I was looking at information about a different branch in a different neighborhood. And not the actual one I was going to be working at. And so I didn't know what I thought I knew until I got here.
So now we're going to talk about, like, I guess the specifics with the schools and kind of how we teach and what we teach and who we teach. So I guess we can first talk about like the students.
The students, yeah.
Yeah, so like class size and like age, I guess.
So with my Hagwon, there's bigger ones, and I think mine was on the definite smaller end, where my classes ranged from 1 to at most 9 kids. And the average was probably like 5 kids in a class.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, it was very, 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 very small. I liked it because you got to really know the students if they opened up to you, which that's the difference too. I taught a wide age range of international age 6 to like 13-year-olds. And the younger kids, because they're really new at English, they're just really cute. And you can't converse as effectively with them, but they're just, for the most part, just excited to exist. And
they're like, oh, an English speaker, that's so exciting and new.
Yeah. And but then I found that once the students, because I met some of them in the middle school age, but then I saw, because I was there for a year, some of the kids, transition, something happens, and they just refuse to speak.
Yeah, I think middle school is especially a big thing. I don't know about like in other countries and if this is common across like language learning, but like especially with Korean children, like when they get into middle school, they definitely, like, because they're really excited about learning English when they're young, and then they get to middle school and it's like a lot of the shyness comes out, so they get more focused on like, oh, what are my peers gonna think about me? Like, I'm too nervous to start speaking English because like, what if I suck? Like, what if I'm bad? And then by high school, I think they kind of have a better grasp of the language, and like,
yeah.
So I mean, I understand, because I also am terrified to speak in other languages, especially around my friends. I'm like, oh, they're gonna judge me. So middle school is that time of your life where I think being judged and like being insecure is really at the forefront. So I get it. So for Epic, you get placed, since it's in public school, you get placed in one of the schools. So like elementary, middle school, or occasionally high school. So I teach in elementary school, so that means all my kids are between 3rd and 6th grade, and as I mentioned before, at different schools I teach different grades, but my class sizes are quite larger. At my main school is really big, like even for elementary school it's a really big school, so like I have like 7 classes of just 5th grade. And each class has like 24 to 26 students. That's a lot. Yeah, so it's, and then at my travel schools, they're slightly smaller classes. No, they're definitely smaller. Probably on average, maybe like 14 or 15. It's definitely nice. I think I like having big classes for like doing games and stuff. I think that, especially like if the class is talkative, I actually really like when the classes are loud. Like some of my co-teachers were like, oh my gosh, this class is like so loud, like they're so chaotic. But I personally like it because I'm like, oh, that means like they're interested, like or at least they're somewhat excited to be there, / excited for me to be there. Like I'm not just like boring and I don't suck.
Are they talkative in English?
Sometimes. But like, I feel like a lot of times they're just loud, like shouting, like when we're playing a game or something.
Oh yeah.
And they just get so into it.
They do.
Oh my gosh. So kind of going off of that, now I guess we'll segue into like what we teach and stuff specifically. So for me, again, this is just my experience. Every Epic experience is different. But I mostly teach at some of my schools. I do like an activity or a game. I split the class with the co-teacher. And so I do a game, and then at my other school, I do the whole lesson, but there is a homeroom teacher in there. So usually I structure those classes where, we kind of go over our vocab, we follow the textbook. I have like a PowerPoint, we do some of like the book work, like the listening CD stuff. And then usually that kind of is enough time, that's like half the class, and then I do a game for the second half. So I do many games, like all the time I do games, and so that's why I think the kids are like, oh, the foreign teacher is good because game, that's it, that's all that they do.
So with mine, my Hagwon was they had a curriculum that was done through one of the major universities in Korea. And so they're all their own books and everything, and the kids would move up through levels via the books. And what it was, I taught out of, the books came in sets. It was like a student book, a workbook, and like a writing practice book. And my main focus was doing stuff out of the student book. And, you know, that was just, you need to finish your books. And so I basically taught from the book, but because different levels had different, you either taught them from like 1 month, 6 weeks, or like 2-month increments. So you had to like draw it out. You couldn't just blast through the book and then be done. I would have to think of supplementary games and different activities that went along with the content that we learned in the book.
So with the content, do you like, you don't, so you mostly follow the book and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So do you, like, other than your like supplemental stuff, do you really plan anything, or like how does planning stuff work?
I just had to plan supplemental stuff because you have to follow the book, because when they're being tested on grammar and stuff. They are learning directly from that book.
Okay, so you literally, like, your classes, you just kind of
we just go through the
book.
Yeah, we talk about the pages and go through the pages. Yeah, my planning was anything to just supplement what was already there.
Gotcha. It would be nice to have kind of a balance. Like, I tend to plan, I have to plan everything that I do, but there are ways to make it easier. So like, I think I personally plan probably less than like some of my friends, because there's a lot of like online resources that a lot of teachers share stuff. So I usually will find kind of a lot of games on there, and then I will just, all of my planning is just kind of like editing it to adapt it to like my lesson and like whatever vocab I'm doing. And then after being here for a year, I've already kind of collected my own games.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, oh, okay, oh, we're doing that one. Okay, let me just pick that from there and stuff. So it's a lot of just like kind of rearranging things. So it doesn't take that much time. Oh, like classroom management and stuff.
Classroom management, yeah.
So as I mentioned, I tend to have like a co-teacher in the room with me pretty much at all times, even if we're not like teaching at the same time. There's even like a homeroom teacher. Like if I'm teaching the whole lesson, the homeroom teacher is still in the room to like help out with anything. And so I know that you're alone in your classroom. So how has that been with, like, I guess, dealing with the students, and like, I get how much you're allowed to like discipline and manage them, and just like how well they listen to you, I guess?
So there's a lot of different factors with it and how kids respond to a teacher. Because I'm nice. I'm not very intimidating. And I'm younger, and so that was harder with some of the older kids, like particularly those two 14-year-old boys. I think they looked at me like I was a student teacher. I don't know what they saw me as. But
like not an adult figure.
Not an adult figure authority at all. And so that made that difficult. But with the younger ones, you know, they won't listen. And so you can't do a ton about it, except, which would kind of make you feel weird, I'd have to say, like, I'm gonna go get the other teacher. And so that feels like tattling. And I didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to have them do that. So I tried to do different things. There was one class of boys, they were really nice. They were just very high energy. You would write their full names on the board, and then like as strikes, you get a letter erased. And then something will happen if your whole name goes away. And luckily these 4 boys all had 4-letter names. And so it was even. And so I would do that, and so I'd write their names on the board, and they actually grew to really like the system because they could see how close their friends were to getting in trouble.
That's such a Korean kids love competition. Like,
it
turn anything into a competition, it'll work in your favor. Like, a pro tip, honestly, competition, prey on their competitive nature.
And so you can't really discipline them because Hagwons are for profit. And if you piss off a parent, then they will pull their kid and take them to a different one.
and lose the money.
And so a lot of it was making, a lot of stuff in Hagwons is just making parents and kids happy.
Yeah, for me, like, I don't do a lot of, like, discipline and stuff just because usually if they do get too loud, like, sometimes I'll, like, we have a few of those, like, kind of attention grabbers where, like, I say, okay, class, and, like, they have to say yes, and they all, like, shut up. But sometimes they don't shut up, and then other times I'm just like, be quiet! Like, I just have to, like, raise my voice a little, or other times I'll just, like, do the, like, silent teacher, like, I'll wait face.
Oh, I've done that.
I've done the I'll wait face, and I'm like, oh, I feel like such a teacher. But I kind of do feel the same, like, we're, like, this, like, weird in between with authority. It's like, we are the teacher, but then it's like, I feel like I'm not, like, the real teacher. I'm, like, a student teacher.
They're really scared and they don't like our Korean
Right, and so I feel like for, like, across foreign like, teachers in Korea, it's like, you're my teacher, but, like, it's different than, like, how they view, like, their Korean teachers.
Yeah.
Management is, it's difficult. It's hard, since I think both of us, since we're both very young and, like, relatively fresh out of college, and, this is my first, like, real job, like, first real teaching job, and, like, having to be comfortable with myself and my authority. And so, like, if you're not really comfortable, I think the students kind of, like, sense that.
They definitely see that.
In my place as a teacher, I don't really deal with the discipline, like, at all, just because, one, I don't really know how much I can and what my place is with that, and two, luckily it hasn't really gotten that bad yet. Obviously, I think if there was a situation where I needed to deal with, I would talk to, like, a co-teacher and kind of take it from there, but I haven't had any of those situations, so that's good. Also, with, like, our hours that we teach, I just remember a second thing. So my hours, I teach from, like, 8:40 to 4:40, and so I'm pretty much, like, back home at, like, 5 p.m. My day starts pretty early.
I am normally a night person anyways. My schedule was 1:30 to 8 p.m. And because for some reason work on most days, by the time I was done, it woke me up. I couldn't go home and then go to bed. So I had a very terrible sleep schedule because I couldn't go to work at 1:30 p.m.
Right. I know. I'd be getting, like, she would, like send me, like, TikToks and memes and stuff at, like, 4 in the morning. I'm just like, ugh. So.
Yeah. So think about that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you do a 9 to 5, or do you want a weird schedule?
Right, because, like, I at first was like, oh, I don't mind, like, I'm more, like, relatively of a night owl, so I was like, I don't mind, like, working late and stuff like that, but then I kind of thought about it more, and I know myself, and I know that, like, I would only spend the mornings, like, sleeping. Like, I wouldn't do anything productive in the morning, and I do like how after work I can flop or be productive or do whatever I want, like, after work. I have a good chunk in there, and so I felt like for me, if I went to a Hagwon, like, my free times in the mornings would just be wasted. So that's just for my personality, though. For you chose your free time to be at, like, 1 in the morning. So
my free time,
if it works, it works. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I guess to wrap things up, kind of general overall experience with the Hagwon life.
My experience was fine. It was fun. It wasn't something I wanted to do, like, at my particular Hagwon for more than a year. Again, it's very specific, and I've heard really good things about other ones, that if I was there, maybe I would have done it for more than 1 year. But I also want to do other jobs and stuff. But so, like, overall, it wasn't a horrible experience. It wasn't the best job of my whole life, but it was fine.
Yeah. I also have mixed feelings about, like, I think in general, like, teaching in public school here, it's really nice as kind of like a first job, like, especially if you're not really sure if you like teaching and, like, you haven't really tried it, and, like, oh, I want to live in Korea, like, I, like, want to try teaching, I'm not really sure, and stuff. So, like, now that I've, like, been through this, and I'm staying for another year, so I like it enough to do that. But I think if I do ever come back to Korea, like, later in life, I would maybe try my hand at Hagwons, because just there's more, like, there's more freedom in terms of like picking kind of where you are, and you can feel things out for like find a specific job that fits for you.
You have to know how to do that search.
Right. And so like now that I've lived in Korea, I feel more comfortable and confident that like I could navigate a lot of stuff. But I don't know, like teaching elementary school it's fun. Yeah. It's definitely like it's fun.
It's an interesting group.
Yeah.
Very interesting group of kids.
For sure. Yeah. So I guess that is it for the video. Yeah, good experiences, middle experiences. So if you're thinking of teaching in Korea and you're like unsure of what to do, I know that I've seen a few videos and I know there's a lot of negative views of Hagwons too, and so you know, some of those stories can be true, but also like we said, like every experience is different, so you know, do your research. Hopefully this helps at all in your research. And whatever you choose, I'm sure it'll be good. So yeah. Alright, so that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Emily, for joining me on my channel before you go home. I'm so sad. Okay, so please make sure to like and comment below if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.